Yeah, the Appalachian Mountains are older than bones. It's crazy.
Oh, it's
Anyway,
awesome.
welcome to another episode of Who What Now Gaming, the podcast for consumers by consumers, where we ask the questions: Who are you? What got you into gaming? And what kind of gamer are you now? I am your humble host, Josh Stewart, and today we have a special guest, Lucas Keener. How are you,
I'm tired. My back hurts, but I'm happy to be here.
dude? For real. Welcome to 30s. You know.
Yeah. No, I work at a desk job, and my second job is also a desk job, so I'm constantly shrimping.
Dude, I just bought a new chair because it has been killing my back.
So really funny, real quick on the new chair thing. My last chair, I absolutely love thunderstorms, and the chair I had beforehand was one that was used for like 5 or 6 years before I got it. It was like a hand me down from someone. I got it for free, not complaining. I used it for 5 years. And there was really good sky boom, so I leaned out, and as I leaned, my chair broke.
No.
Yeah, so I had a broken chair for 2 weeks till I got like this really crappy like desk chair off of
Hey,
Facebook Marketplace
there you go.
for like $40, and I'm just like, you know what, this will solve it until oh geez, this will solve it until like money helps. I don't know,
Oh,
but
100%. I did the same thing with I had like a recliner in our living room for like years. And then it just happened to be like one day I was just feeling lazy enough where I didn't want to get up and pick something off the floor, so I tried doing that, weird lean scoot thing and just completely broke the side of it. And I was like, well, if I just ignore it long enough, it'll be fine. And then one day the whole side of the chair fell off and I was like, well, it's been good knowing you.
oh no. Have you seen that there's been a new thing coming out lately for it's like a wider chair. I forget like the actual name of it, but it's like a computer chair that's made so you can like sit with your legs crossed on it.
Ooh, I have not, but that sounds super comfortable.
It looks really cool. The only issue I have with it is it doesn't have like armrests, and I really like my armrests.
Yes. Yes, 100%. So let's dive in here. Um, dude, I have been I want to start this one off because this one's been like fresh in my mind here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was at work when you did your last stream playing Sky. For those who don't know, you stream on Twitch.
Yes.
And so I try to catch the streams. It's really fun to like listen to while I'm doing my job and stuff. And because of the work that I do, I had I kind of come in and go here and there. And but you have clips down at the bottom, and so when I'm trying to like catch up on the things that I've missed, a lot of times I'll go check out the clips and stuff, so I like see progress, like getting myself to where I remember being at. And one of the clips still makes me laugh. And it just must have been the way that you looked at the camera, but it just cracks me up. So you have 14 lockpicks. Oh my dude. I wasn't expecting it, and so like it was just this moment where I was just like, oh, let's check this one out. And so 14 lockpicks, you put the lockpick in, and immediately it breaks, and you just look at the camera slowly and go, 13 lockpicks.
Yeah, no, that was a fun moment. I still laugh about it. Obviously, I if I hang out with somebody and they know that I stream, I'm like, okay, look at this. This was really stupid. It was funny though, and I'm just like, ah, uh,
Dude, it was great. Well, you're streaming Skyrim right now.
yes.
That
Um, the current idea that I'm doing is because while I do generally play like a normal character,
mm-hmm.
sometimes I like to do gimmicks. So
Yeah.
this current one is called Fumbles. I'm playing a Khajiit, and I'm going through the Thieves Guild quest line, and I'm not sneaking.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna get into some shenanigans.
Oh,
I've already been
absolutely.
arrested twice.
Well, for those who don't know, that is like you're like a cat person, almost like Tabaxi in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Um, super super fun to play as.
Yeah, and if anyone that doesn't know the Skyrim lore, they are known as like the sneakiest,
Hmm.
like I guess ancestry, ethnicity, species, race, whatever. And when you start in the game, your sneak skill is actually automatically set at 25, the highest skill, where the base for everything else is near 20 or 15. So, like in game lore, they're the sneakiest ones. So it's a little fun that I'm not being sneaky.
Yeah, to have a character so well designed in one like specific style, and then to just completely ignore it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's some big brain jokes right there.
yeah. It's kind of actually goes into this. It was a suggestion with my friends, but this is stuff I do a lot. So my current D&D character is a Fearbulk rogue, and the joke is he has a large family and a happy home life. The trauma hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
That's the campaign.
I was gonna say you didn't go with the super sad background.
No, and the character I had before that was a bard who was giantkin, so he's like 11'3", but he's asexual and aromantic. He just wanted to be everyone's drunk uncle.
Hell yeah. Well,
So
well, all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would be like, oh yes, we are friends. Yes, let's shots for everyone.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm running a D&D game right now, and I'm also playing in a game, and I have always played such a, like, oh, look how big I am and look how hard I can swing type of like character. And so this time around, I decided I'm going to do something that I'm not used to, and I ended up making a Shatterkai rogue, and it has been super fun. And I don't after this character, I don't think I will be going back to like a fighter barbarian or anything. Like they're so unique in styles. I just never dabbled in the other stuff, so it's been really fun.
Yeah, when I played bard, that was like my first like actual spellcasting class because I had a lot of comfort with uh control characters, so
Mm.
monk and rangers. And now I'm doing my first rogue ever, which is a DPS build, and the one thing I always like doing whenever I play a game is I like being a skill junkie and I like being tall.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters. I just want to be able to do a lot and go loom.
Yeah.
I am large.
Yeah, you want to be tall and be able to do anything.
Exactly. I don't
100%.
even necessarily need to be able to hit hard. I just want to
Yeah.
be able to do a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of how my character is. When it comes to combat, I'm really relying on my fellow friends. But when it comes to anything for like the RP or the skills checks, I got it. You know.
Yeah. But no,
So
that's fun.
so when you are streaming, I kind of had this thought when I was like going through your previous like streams and videos and such, and I noticed that you do not hang around like the new age like games, and at first I was like, well, hey, you love a game kind of thing, but I started to see like almost like it, and this is purely a guess. You'll have to confirm it or deny it, but it seems like you have taken to streaming to play games that you purely enjoy.
Absolutely. It's kind of like if I'm going to stream, if I'm going to do anything with it, it's going to be something I'm going to like. And if I'm not mistaken, you were on my stream before asking if whether or not I was going to play Baldur's Gate 3 on stream.
I was.
And I don't want my first game or playthrough of a game, my first experience with a game, to be while entertaining somebody. Because even though I love the games I'm playing on stream, I do paint on stream as well. I
I
love
saw that.
doing what I do. There is a different dynamic when you stream. There is this idea of somebody is watching. And even if it is the most positive experience,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't had really any negative experiences with streaming yet. Let's hope that stays. But there's still the energy of putting on airs, putting on a persona. And so I never want my first playthrough of a game to be in that headspace. Now, I for longer games is different. So Assassin's Creed Odyssey, enormous game. I
Yeah,
think
it's
I played through
massive.
half of it on my own, and then I had a bug or whatever, so I restarted it, and I was just like, all right, you know what, let's just restart and stream. And I had a fun time with it because I also got to ramble about history to people, and that's great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
But
the
oh, sorry.
no, no, please.
I was just gonna. I don't remember. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that uh, as entertaining and enjoyable like the Assassin's Creed like games are, I have found more fun and enjoyment coming from like Odyssey and Origins and Valhalla and stuff. I feel like the ability to pay attention to mythologies and like geographical locations that they like actually stick to is very fascinating to me. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy when they pay attention to those things.
Yeah. One of my favorite things, and it's only in Origins because it's the only one that is like solidly historically accurate outside of the obvious plot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a museum mode in Assassin's Creed Origins where you can go around and visit the monuments because it's so well reconstructed.
I did not know this.
Yeah, it's just a free roam. There's no fighting or gameplay. It is a climb these monuments, climb these ancient relics of the past. And it is a beautiful thing. I've done it a few times just to just kind of go, I want to go.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. I gotta say, since doing this podcast, I am learning things about games that I have played like serious hours of that I didn't even know were things I could do or like modes or extra content and such. It's been really like eye opening. It's been really cool.
I think also in that same vein, doubling back to the streaming, one of the things that, or one of the reasons I keep going back to Skyrim so much
Mm-hmm.
is I've been playing that game for, what is it? It's been out since 2011, 13 years now. I still find new stuff. It's it always has something new if you choose to do something new,
Right.
and I love it. It's just like there's things about these games that I've been playing for so long that makes everything worthwhile, and then you have the mod community, which makes some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
That can add that depth and lore to the game that also fits within the game.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so how many times do you think a new hand has held the beacon?
And me alone, like at least 30.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I've probably put solidly over 2,000 hours total in Skyrim.
wow.
Between like when I had it originally for 360, when I upgraded to PC, when a new version came out onto PC, and then the version after that, which is the final edition with everything and survival mode, because it always resets in Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And on this current version I have 600 hours.
Wow. That I mean,
I don't have a problem.
yeah. I'm. My guess is that you enjoy this game. It's
Yeah,
just a wild shot in the dark, though.
just a wild chart. Just a wild chart.
Hey, I mean, whatever.
But one of the things that is a continuous, uh, I would say theme within Skyrim is just gazing at the environment and just sighing and being like, this is cathartic to me because I
Mm-hmm.
love rain, I love thunderstorms, I love the aura borealis within the game, but then also the landscape, just the idea of traveling. Um, One of my favorite YouTube channels, Overly Sarcastic Productions. I don't know if you've heard of it. They do detailed diatribes into archetypes and themes, as well as going into mythology and history. Red, who does the mythology and literary archetype diatribes, um, specifically talks the best way that she likes to play Skyrim. It's just pick a direction and run. And
Wow.
honestly, some of the most fun I've ever had playing a game like that is I don't think I even got the Dragonstone from Bleak Falls Barrow until I was level 50.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I never started the main quest line until I was like level 50. I just did everything else.
That's insane because if I remember correct, you could do that within like the first like 2 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, I've done it at level 3.
So,
And
that's pretty great.
yeah, no, it's just like I'm gonna do this time. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that this time. And it's just the type of game that you can pick a direction, go, and you can just gaze at scenery. I have this really nice mod. It's a quality of life mod where it just adds more types of weather. So you'll have
Yeah.
like light rain, medium light rain, like a downpour, like a deluge of water. You'll have like clear nights. You'll have like slightly clouded nights. It just adds more weather effects that makes the world feel more immersive than vanilla Skyrim would,
Yeah.
and it just adds so much to it. You can hear the lightning and thunder from inside a building along with the downpour of rain and not be wet. So it's like, okay, yo, I go outside, it's gonna be raining. You can just hear it inside a building, and that adds so much to the game, I think.
I 100% agree. I think some people may hear that and say, well, it's just rain or it's just, whatever. And it's so much more than that. It's that ambiance that really, allows you to immerse yourself into this world. You're not, you get to a point when playing games that you truly, truly love, where you're no longer playing a character. You are that character, and you enjoy
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. I think, especially coming from the idea of D&D, you and I both play D&D, those characters are part of ourselves. We
Hmm.
always put ourselves in those characters, whether if it's as a form of catharsis or to explore different notions of what we as individuals could be. And especially with RPGs, that's just gonna happen.
Of course, yeah.
We get
I
attached.
Yeah, for real though. And I would even argue that like, my D&D characters, as much as it is just, a theater of the mind or a collective storytelling, game, I I still feel like I remember, hunting down, Vecna as much as I remember, going to work the other day. Like they're
Absolutely.
so real to me and they both hold value to me.
100%. And then you can also like expand upon that. You can make like little fan art and stuff like that. Like that's one of the things that I love doing is making fan art for my friends and just uh like of what the vibe is for the game. A current piece that I'm looking at doing for everybody is we have a table that we play at every other week,
Mm-hmm.
and at that table we all sit in our same position. So I'm gonna have the DM be one character that he loves playing the most, and then the rest of us will be as our characters goofing off like we normally do, but
Yeah.
in our sizes in game. And I think that's just it kind of shows because we all use characters in a little bit to explore ourselves.
Wow. Yeah, that is so true. I back that 100%. There is a little piece of you that kind of goes into every character you create, and it as you play that character, it's almost like you're exploring maybe a tiny aspect of your own, life, something that maybe you never got a chance to do, and now you are that, you know.
Exactly. It's a bit of a power fantasy for sure, but I think especially
Whatever.
today we all kind of need that.
Oh, dude, for real.
Ugh.
Yeah, the art aspect though, I wish that I was more like I had like more of like an artistic skill. I'm trying it. I actually purchased, this bad boy right here. It's Orcus. For those listening, it's a miniature that you can paint and kind of like make it your a reality of sorts. And it's been sitting there on the shelf because now I have it, and I'm too afraid to mess it up. So I just look at it.
So I do have two things for anyone that wants to do art. One is that no matter what anyone tells you, art is an innate part of humanity. There is no such thing as someone who isn't an artist. And you're talking to someone who has been not only painting his entire life, I have gone to college, I'm classically trained, and I have been painting and writing comics now for 5 to 6 years professionally. Art is part of humanity. You can do art. Anything that you draw or paint is therefore art. And what no matter anyone tells you as far as talent goes, like any skill, it's about the time that you invest in it. It's kind of think about it as like a sport. The more you do, the more you practice, the better you will become. And I always tell people that, hey, if you want to learn specific techniques, you don't even have to go to a college. Find a local community art store, and they'll often have classes available that you can just come in and sketch with other people. Um, the second thing is okay. So the first thing was art. The second thing was, oh no, do I
Well,
forget what the second thing was? I think I forget what the second thing was. Let's stick with that first thing.
yeah, if it comes back to you, we'll jump back into it. But
If it comes back, but
I
yeah,
do want to comment. That was so beautifully put. That was uh like I mean, I feel inspired from what you just said. Like I see that, like my dad's an artist. He's given me a couple of the same, talks and stuff, and my sister's incredibly talented, and I've I've always looked at the what I have produced and kind of just thought it was shit. So I've been having a blast doing this. So I mean, maybe this will be my form of art and expression.
this
It's
is art.
yeah.
This is 100% art. Speaking, orating, it is a skill. There's a reason that lawyers are a profession. There's a reason that
Mm,
broadcasters are a profession.
yeah, that's true.
Um, and as far as like, looking at something that you do and thinking it's shit, by comparison to what most modern artists do, the Cave of Lascaux are shit.
Hmm.
Yet they are some of the most historically significant pieces of art in history. They're 34,000-year-old cave paintings in Lascaux, France. And they tie us to our roots and our history. Art is an innate, and that is where I take that art is an innate part of humanity. The oldest things we have available to us are art.
Yeah.
Göbekli Tepe. It's a work of art and architecture.
So I know the podcast is supposed to be about gaming and stuff, but you know what, I want to derail here for a minute. Obviously you're an artist. You mentioned that you've been painting and creating. Where Well, first off, can would you mind like kind of just showing off what you have there? I know you have
Show off, you say.
yeah, please.
Okay.
But also, I want to hear your thoughts and where the inspiration to kind of take this journey came from.
So I guess we can start with the inspiration. You grew up with me. You know
Yep.
that I've always been drawing. I do not have a memory of my first drawing because that is how long I've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
In elementary school, I was just making dumb little comics with my friends all the time, probably based on those Captain Underpants comics and
Classics.
books. Exactly, classics. But I think that's kind of what actually got me started on like just drawing really crappy little comics with everybody. And I just fell in love with it. And then even in middle school, I was writing like full on like manga or whatever because I was a Naruto fanboy. And my first OC original character was a Naruto self insert. And then my second character was a Kingdom Hearts self insert. And then I got to thinking, okay, but what if they did this instead of it being in Naruto? And I just gradually, they just kind of gradually and naturally separated until they were its own thing. And now instead, I have a completely different comic that I'm writing as a build up to that other comic. The comic in question, funnily enough, is called Cake Knife. I have a copy of the first book. If you want to find anything out, I hope it's okay that I plug here real quick.
Oh, absolutely. Please plug anything and everything. And then whatever you do plug, I will be putting a link to in the description of this episode.
Rad, thank you.
Absolutely.
You can go to luminarycomics.com to find out more. But one of the things that happened is I was doing these in black and white. And I'm a watercolor artist. So I got to thinking, yo, what if I just painted these instead?
Mm-hmm.
And it leads to comic pages that look like this now. And I do these much faster. I do these much better. They're in color. They're higher quality. And I just have an idea, and I'm like, okay, what can I do with this? I was talking about before the podcast we started recording. I was talking to you about an idea I had for a 100 to 150 page graphic novel. And the idea for the challenge came from the game of Shadow of the Colossus, actually. Because there's exactly right. That's the feeling you get with Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah,
there's
no
right. Dialogue. There's the only words you get are from this ancient elder god.
Yeah.
So the idea is that I had to write this comic with no dialogue whatsoever, which I have never seen before. It's all outside, so the way I do things, the way I write and draw is if someone is outside, there's no panels. It's all like free form. Let me see if I can find an example real quick. Oh, actually, this is perfect. This page right here. Not a single panel.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And so it's going to be panelless, it's going to be dialogueless, and it's going to explore a creation myth of the of kind of the origin of gods and monsters and men within my own comic and my own mythos. So there's that cross of seeing that like the inspiration from this game that was not only a huge part of my childhood, fucking awesome on PS2, and the re-release that they did on PS4 was also fantastic. But the also obsession I have with our ancient past.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's incredible. For those listening, I will place a link down in the description. Please go check those out. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, dude, I look forward to this project. This is going to be a really cool project. This is very neat.
It probably will not release in print for a while because I'd like to finish Cake Knife first.
Absolutely.
Cake Knife I'm planning on only being 15 chapters, and then I'll release this project, which I already have a working title. It's called Nameless, and any information is going to be on my website.
Fantastic. Yep. So just repeat. I will put that in the description. Please go check that out.
And thank you very much.
So now that I've completely derailed, I want to go back to the beginning of time. When when you started gaming in general, do you remember the first game you played, or like the first game that you can remember playing?
Give me 1 second. Absolutely. Hold on. I still have it.
Uh, in the meantime, I will say Lucas is the one who actually got me into Naruto, which I have to absolutely thank for. Um, I've been on the Naruto journey for quite some time, and I got to a point where now, even today, I have my oldest daughter who is now a huge Naruto fan. And so now we get to sit down together. And it is all because of Lucas that I am even a Naruto fan to begin with. Welcome back. Do you still have it?
Goddamn right I
Hey.
do.
All right.
Pokemon Blue and the Game Boy Color. I have had this Game Boy Color for over 20 years.
The purple see-through Game Boy Color, that is amazing.
And been
We
so used that the battery thing
dude.
doesn't clip on anymore because it broke, so I gotta tape it.
Oh my god, man, dude! It was like you couldn't play the game unless you were like under some kind of light source. And I remember playing the Game Boy Color, in like the car on like long drives, and then you go
Yes,
through a tunnel, and you
yes.
just got to be like, well, don't know what I'm gonna do for myself for the next like 2 minutes, you
You
know?
gotta hope you're like on like a road with like street lights, so you can just kind of like,
Yeah, you kind of
Where's
like
the
get the
light? Where's the
here it
light?"
is, and oh, dude, it was man. Kids these days will never understand those struggles. The struggles of like leaning in certain directions to
Oh,
get just to be able
yeah.
to see your screen. Oh my god, dude.
I, for one, am thankful that they do not have to know that struggle because,
Dude,
oh my god, it was so annoying.
what an absolute struggle.
I'm
Now,
just saying, I absolutely love my Nintendo Switch. It's so
yeah,
much easier.
dude, it's so nice. All right, so uh Pokemon Blue.
Pokemon
So
Blue.
I started with Pokemon Red, and I've complained about this multiple times in these episodes here, and so I gotta go to someone who maybe understands my pain, or uh, I'm still just alone in this. When you get to the like, not the end of the game, but you go to your eighth badge. Did you know where to go to get to the eighth badge?
I did.
Okay, am I an idiot? I spent so long playing this game, and I went everywhere that I could possibly go, not knowing that I was supposed to go back to the starter area.
So when you defeat Giovanni in Silphco, he tells you he'll be waiting for you in Viridian Gym.
Well, I have to be honest here. I wasn't much of the reader type. There was a lot of just being like, I want to get back to the action. Where's the like, I don't care what you have to say. So I mean, all right, that's on me. You know what? I'll take it back. All right, but dude, I played so long, and I didn't have a guide, and like there was no resources to just like look this up on like Google and stuff, and so I would just keep playing, and I'm like, it got to a point where I was just so strong that like I think I made the joke where I was like, if I sneeze in a random direction, I take out half the population. Like it was like there was nothing I could do, you know?
So, on that Pokemon note, since we're on it, and that was like both our first game, have you ever heard of something called a Nuzlocke?
I don't think so.
So, a Nuzlocke is a rule set that you use when playing Pokemon that makes the game challenging. Um, the rules are as follows. Um, every single boss is a level cap. If a
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon goes above that level cap, you cannot use it in the next fight.
Yeah, I did know about that.
If a Pokemon faints, it's gone forever. And like
Rough.
it's basically dead. You
Yeah.
cannot use the only items you can use in battle are held items, and you can only catch one Pokemon per route. It can never be the same as another that you've already had, which is called the species clause. And if you fail to catch up that Pokemon, you have to then wait till the next location or route to get a new Pokemon.
Jeez.
Now, my friend and I are doing something called a Soul Link Nuzlocke. which makes it a little more difficult. We
Okay.
cannot ever have the same type of Pokemon. And when we catch a Pokemon in an area, they're soul linked, meaning we name them the same thing. Now, say mine fainted, but his did not. His would also then faint.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insanity.
And now we're also playing what's called with anime rules. So if a gym leader has only 3 Pokemon, we can only take in 3 Pokemon, and we have to sit there and discuss our teams to figure out which 3 that we bring because we have to bring the same Pokemon.
Right. Wow.
And we're playing with completely different Pokemon.
That is I don't think that it gets any more challenging. That is
It we do make it a little easier on ourselves. We don't play with set mode. Set mode is when when a trainer switches in, like the game switches in a new Pokemon.
Yeah.
You know how you have the option to switch out?
Right.
That is switch mode. Set mode does not give you that option.
So you have to remain until
you physically switch a Pokemon out.
Okay.
That is the only we give ourselves that.
So which game are you playing this on?
We're currently playing Scarlet and Violet. This is our 5th playthrough of the game.
Wow.
And honestly, it is the most fun Pokemon has ever been for me. Because it adds you have a friend there with you constantly. It makes things difficult. You have to sit and discuss because we've already completely wiped out our third playthrough. We TPK'd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on the 3rd gym. It was our hubris. It was our fault.
Yeah.
But there's significant impacts with only one Pokemon loss, and it can snowball real fast. But it makes the game so much more fun.
Wow. I mean, more power to you. I don't know if I could do that.
I don't think I'd be able to if I did it by myself.
Yeah. Wow. That is an intense gameplay.
We're also doing this is our 5th playthrough, and we're also doing something called a monologue, which is on top of all of the rules. I'm only allowed to use fighting types, and he's only allowed to use dark types.
Oh, okay.
And what's nice is it lets you use Pokemon that you never thought you'd ever use before.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, and because of the way the game has evolved, this is Generation 9 now. This is 25 years of Pokemon. There's been a lot of extra tweaks, and now every single Pokemon has its niche, and you can find that niche. Like, there's no real such thing as a super bad Pokemon anymore.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Huge example. From Gen 2, there's a Pokemon called Furret. It's the regional rodent that they normally do. They Eradicate, Furret. I forget what Gen 3's is. But anyway, it's garbage. It's a garbage Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
However, in Gen 9, they made it so it's a great setup Pokemon. So what you can do is you can add a bunch of buffs to it. You can then use a move called Baton Pass, which then switches out the Pokemon to a different Pokemon and gives it those buffs that it otherwise would not have gotten from just switching in.
Oh, okay.
So it's become a really strong setup Pokemon. Another garbage Pokemon is from Gen 2 is the spider Ariados. Really frail, doesn't have a lot of a strength, but it's really fast. They've given it a bunch of moves that not only helps improve its defenses, but can nerf the enemy's Pokemon. So you can leave it in, let it get stronger, and then it can one-shot like almost anything.
Wow.
And
yeah, I didn't know about most of that, which is
neither did I
cool.
Until our 4th playthrough. And that's what I mean. Is like we're discovering this stuff right now as we're playing. And frankly, it makes the game more fun because it's almost an aspect of discovery while we're playing. And it's just cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I think the last time that I sat down, well, that's not true. I'd played the what was it? Arceus.
Oh, Arceus was
on
a great game.
yeah, on Switch. I played that one a lot. I enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be like my entry back into getting into Pokemon. But I think the last time that I like sat down with like a handheld and played a Pokemon game, I think honestly was like Pearl and Diamond. I think it's been some time, but Pokemon has always had a special place in my heart. Like that's like one of those ones that really, it was so prevalent in my childhood, and it's. I don't think anything will ever happen to the point where I don't somewhat enjoy Pokemon. To the point where like even my kids, we were in the store like maybe it was like last year or so, and they have a lot of stores still have that whole wall of like cards and stuff. And I remember as a kid, like there was like a couple lines of like Pokemon cards and stuff, and now like not so much because there's just so many card games. And it was like this moment as a father, like watching my child go up to this like wall of cards, point to the Pokemon pack and be like, I want that one. And I was like, oh, like, of
You're
course.
doing good.
I was like, I'm so proud of you. This is the greatest moment ever. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, we bought it, and now, they both like have like this little box in our playroom where they keep their Pokemon cards. And they only have like 6 each, and they're I mean, honestly, some of them I haven't even seen before, but I was like, this is what this means. This is what the attack here would do. This is where these things, and then we'll like look them up, and we'll like look up either like if it's an evolution, or if like what type these things are, and like why why they're a certain type kind of thing. And my youngest pointed out that when we were discussing like the original starter Pokemon, and she was like, well, that's a dragon. And I'm like, it is a dragon. Talking about Charizard. And I'm like, yeah, it's a badass dragon. This thing is amazing. And she's like, wow. And I was like, yeah, it's also like only fire and flying type, and is not a dragon type. And I was like, it's
So
like,
something interesting that the actual creator of Pokemon pointed out and has straight up said is that Charizard is a dragon.
mm-hmm,
Gyarados is a dragon. He has
right.
specifically come out and said that not all dragons are going to be dragon type, but they're designed to be dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So we now know for a fact that the oh well they're not dragon type point is completely moot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't look at Charizard and tell me with a straight face that he's not a dragon. I mean, come on.
Question: have you played Pokemon X and Y?
No.
Do you? Okay, real quick, I want you to look up the difference between Charizard X and Charizard Y, and I
Okay.
want you to tell me which one is your favorite.
All right. So Charizard X and Charizard Y.
Yeah,
X.
and the reason is
Y.
because there's a huge discord between which one is the favorite.
Okay, so I mean, one just looks like an absolute yoked, normal Charizard, and then the other one has like blue flames and is like real jaggedy. I mean, I got to go with the black and blue flame Charizard.
That's
I mean, I think it
everybody's
looks
favorite.
badass. Yeah.
So they made that Charizard Dragon Fire.
Okay.
And Charizard Y is still Flying and Fire. My favorite is still the Charizard Y because I think that looks more like a dragon.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you there. I agree with you there. Definitely looks more like a dragon. But man, blue
Blue Flames.
flame. I mean,
That's
come
pretty
on.
cool. I ain't gonna begrudge you that, but like, yeah, no. There's when those two games came out, there was this huge discourse over which one's the better Charizard because, and everyone was going with Charizard X because it was an actual dragon type.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I see the points.
I do too. I do too. I can't say that.
So let me ask you this. Uh,
So
Obviously, you have a huge love for Pokemon. Would you say that Pokemon is your favorite game of all time, or does something else take its place?
Okay, so this is a loaded question.
Very.
And the reason it's a loaded question is because I like different things for different purposes. What I will say is that Pokemon is my favorite series of all time,
Okay.
but I will not say it's a favorite game.
Okay.
Um, so we go back to PS2 days. PS2 was my main system growing up. I still had my original PS2 along with a lot of the games that I had. And the original Star Wars Battlefront for PS2 and Soul Calibur 3 are my two favorite games on that system, mainly because of childhood memories
Of
and the
course.
character creation. I would sit there. The only real time I ever spent with my dad, a little bit sad, just a heads up. The only real time I ever spent with my dad was playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 because it's a
Mm.
game he liked. Um, and Soul Calibur 3 was a game I played with my stepmom. And
Mm-hmm.
or I had friends come over and we would play that because we could make our own characters and then fight each other or do a story with them. It was actually
Yeah.
the first Soul Calibur game where they introduced character creation. Um, Minecraft is another favorite. Mainly for PC is how I like to play it. I know it's exists for systems, but I never really liked the absence of a keyboard with that game for whatever reason.
I
But
will agree with you on that one 100%. It's games like that I almost need a PC. You need the keyboard and stuff.
I think part of it too is I started playing Minecraft back when it first came out in like
Mm.
2011 when you could play on like a hosted website. You didn't need
Yeah.
the actual game. And but it's a portion of creativity that I enjoy in an architectural sense. Example, actually right before this call, I was playing Minecraft and listening to some YouTube videos.
Hey,
And my
nice.
current build is a Mesopotamian ziggurat based on what archaeological evidence we have of the old city of Uruk, which is the city where the Epic of Gilgamesh takes place.
Dude, I love your love for history in putting them into like games.
It's so much fun. The previous world that I had, I used to run a server actually,
Oh, okay,
because
cool.
playing Minecraft with friends just makes it more fun. Like Pokemon, like any other game, I think it's more fun if you play with the right people.
Sure.
And literally, one of my favorite things to do is build public transit for people so that we can all get to each other's bases real fast via
Oh, okay.
trains.
I see what you're
And
saying. Yeah.
and I'm just like, why can't we have this in America? For
Yeah.
anyone who doesn't live in the US that's watching this, public transit in the US is shit. Like absolute garbage. We all have cars. If you don't have a car, you're adding like an additional 2 to 3 hours to get around for our public transit. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like the community aspect. I'm linking us all together so that we can easily interact for whatever reason. And then you have what we talked about earlier, the Skyrim, the pure beauty of the world and the breadth that you can explore. And then you also have some really fun jank. Um, like I don't know if you saw the one clip on my Twitch where it was like, it's not a bug, it's a feature. And I went to
Yeah.
ride a
And he
horse,
jumps up on
and
the
I was
horse.
just standing on the horse
Yeah.
as we galloped, and it's just like, it's fine. That's
Yeah.
just Bethesda.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I enjoyed that
it's
one.
it's stuff like that that just makes it really humorous. Don't get me wrong, it rips the immersion out, but it's great. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my other all-time favorite games is The Witcher 3. For the sheer breadth of story, the emotional wrenching, and the fact that it's also a fantasy environment that's not Western Europe. It's Poland. It's fantasy
Yes.
Poland.
100%.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
and it's what got me into doing some of my other artwork with my Leshen pieces. It got me into a little bit more looking into Slavic cultures. A
Mm-hmm.
couple recent pieces I did were based on Silesian winter deities, which is the area between Germany and Poland, and the intermingling of Slavic and Germanic cultures. But that game has led me to some of those uh, rabbit holes and those dives, and I just always come back to The Witcher 3 because it's such a good game.
I 100%. It is absolutely fantastic, and I have to say, like, I played the first one briefly. I played the second one and enjoyed it, and then I started playing the third one when I probably the last person on the planet to have learned that The Witcher was a book series, and I was like, "What?" So I immediately go on Audible, and I got every single book, and I blasted through them, and it hands down still one of my absolute favorite, like novel series, like fantasy series and stuff. It's so well done. It's incredible.
I will admit I have not read the books yet. I
You
really
it's
want to. It's on my list, but
yeah.
also I work a full time job and I write comics on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah. No, I get it. I'm lucky to have one of those positions at my work where once things like really start getting going, I can kind of just, you know, let my mind wander.
Nice.
And so that frees up some like a time where I used to like just listen to music and stuff, but I mean honestly, as much as I love music, you listen to music like so much that you're kind of like I gotta listen to something else. So I started getting into like podcasts, and I got Audible subscription stuff, and so I'm listening to books that I've never thought that I would enjoy before, and absolutely thrilled by them. I'll like catch up on YouTube videos, podcasts, like things like that, and it's so Witcher was definitely one of those ones where I was like, well, I got 12 hours here to blast through, so I might as well get a
So
book done.
what's really cool, I don't know if you're aware about it, there's a couple apps like Libby, which work directly off of a library card, and you can rent the books for free.
Really?
Yeah, so you don't need to pay for them, and it actually does support local libraries.
Are they audio form, or like
Yeah,
is it just
they're
what?
audiobooks.
All right,
Yeah,
well, hang on. It says Libby.
Libby, Libby. There's another one that
Check
I
that out.
forget the name of, but yeah, it uses a library card.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think I still have my old library card.
If I don't have one, I'm just gonna go to the local library. I live downtown, so it's
Okay.
easy walk to the my local library. But one of the ones I want to listen to the most is the Lord of the Rings series because they got Andy Serkis to voice the
Yes.
entire thing, and I'm
I
so excited.
I just started the third book. Like the other week, and yeah, same
Nice.
thing. When I found out that who was doing the reading, I was like, well, done. I'm in, and it's so good.
For anyone that doesn't know, Andy Serkis is the one who motion graphed and acted for Smeagol and Gollum in Lord of the Rings, but also does a bunch of other work in that fashion. He's a fantastic voice actor. He
Mm-hmm.
was in Andor as a main character.
Yep.
Gut wrenching performance.
Yep.
And he is a beautiful man.
Yeah. Fantastic voice work. Does the CGI like body work. Is in movies, TV shows. He's a big part of like Marvel, I think. Couple movies.
I think he is. I just can't remember what.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely fantastic human being.
Did you know that they denied him an option to be in the Oscars because of the motion graphics for the motion capture? It's his because it's not just him; it's a combination of him and a digital team. So they denied him an Oscar.
Wow, I did
And
not
while
know that.
I understand, I'm a little mad about it.
Yeah, because Yeah, see, that I feel like that's a topic in itself, because the even though you're just doing the motion capture, the the technology that they have to be able to capture those motion, like the motions and emotions, uh are insane. Like, they're just plot points on a grid, but you are still, moving. You are still making facial expressions. You are still,
It's
you
still
know
acting,
yeah, it's 100% still acting.
and it's his voice,
Yeah.
which is why I think he's gotten awards for like best voice actor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. See, that's why I would also argue that, oh no, blanking, the guy who plays Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
um
I don't know his name, but I know the voice.
yeah, it'll come back to me. Fantastic, voice actor, and he did all the motion capture for the game.
Oh
uh
yeah,
yeah. Oh, 100%.
I
It's
didn't know they
it's
motion captured that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a clip I think you can find somewhere on YouTube. I mean, you probably even just Google it. But there's a very emotional scene, as Kratos is in the water, pulling a boat that has his son in the boat, and they're having this like very emotional conversation about basically like grieving, and the death of Kratos's wife, and his son saying like, hey, like, we're all allowed to grieve, and I'm going to be sad. It's not my fault that you don't care. And he turns and he's like, it's not that I don't care, it's that I have my own form of like grieving. It's a very emotional scene, and it is beautiful, and they act it all out with all motion capture stuff. It's
Gotcha.
fantastic.
I guess that makes sense why it hits so much harder then.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a great game. God of War, fantastic. Top for me. I
Hell yeah.
love those games. Love them. Especially, and I know there's communities have been kind of all about it, or kind of against it, like lately, saying that Kratos isn't Kratos anymore and everything. But I'm like, man, it's a new aspect. I think the new God of War games have just shown more, Kratos character development, which is
Yes.
really, I mean, you have to admit, is what makes games so brilliant.
Which I would also say it's also an interesting aspect because within the new games, he references and thinks back on his old actions.
Absolutely.
Um, one of the best things I've heard for it, which was also in a detailed diatribe and look into this game series of games, is that the whole concept of fate and what their destinies are replace destiny with family trauma,
Yeah.
and that's the theme of the game
Yeah.
because you have the way Odin treats Thor,
Mm-hmm.
and his overcoming, Thor's overcoming of parental abuse, and the trauma of Kratos from his previous life and betrayal at the hands of the Greek gods. Like, it's a beautiful story about healing.
Yeah. Yeah. It is an amazing tale that I
It's a much more
feel.
mature tale.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, the progression from, Kratos, like the origin story of Kratos, is that, he is leading, in a war that basically comes to his defeat. And in doing so, he calls to the gods, strikes a deal, and says that, basically, if you allow me this victory, my life is yours. In doing so, as we know from mythology, gods can be cruel, hungry with power and passion for war. He basically, unbeknownst to himself, murders his child and wife, and as punishment for doing so, the gods basically stain his skin with the ash of his family and the blood of his child and wife, and that's where he gets his iconic look. So the entire was first 4 games, I guess, if you consider the one that was like just for PSP. But the entire tale is revenge for the wrong that he has felt has been placed upon him. And the new, like, the reboot, I guess, with God of War, it's he's older, he's mature, he has come to the acceptance of what has happened and his actions. And you watch a man who's just trying to heal, and continue to exist, as he's so, I mean, he's not even considered like a mortal anymore. He's basically he is a god. He's the
Hmm.
god of war. And so I think what's also fascinating is that it also opens up the door for, not only saying that, like, in this realm, in this world, Greek mythology being, a thing, but like all mythologies from all cultures and all parts of the world exist. And it's beautiful.
One of my favorite phrases comes from I forget the actual name of the writer, but they reference it a lot at the beginning of every episode where they discuss myths, and it's myths are not stories that are untrue. Rather, they are stories that don't fit neatly into the historical record.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that powerful because myths are a culture
Yes.
and they are important. King Arthur, probably not a real dude, but it's super important to Anglican culture.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think to say, like, understanding that, like, certain myths and stuff seem far-fetched, but I mean, what is a myth but a story tied by a morality, uh presented in story form to you know to kind of create a point, like a moral questioning.
Exactly. And in the aspect of the seemingly cruelness of Greek gods, we also have to remember that what the cultures presented were not necessarily cruel characters, but rather just a story of what is.
Yeah.
Why does Artemis, a defender of young maidens, cohort with her brother who is known for assaulting them? It's or why does she protect her hunters and why does she kill her hunters in equal measure? And it's because, well, sometimes people get hurt and sometimes people don't. The will of the gods is something that is unknown to mortal minds, and so we come up with stories to help explain them.
100%. Yeah, I am a huge fan of Norse mythology, and so uh every time I go down a rabbit hole, or I dive deeper into some Norse tale or mythological detail of some sort, and I find myself, more times than not, finding um, relative, like, points between other mythologies and such, to the point where, like, one of my favorite ones, and it's not one that usually gets a whole lot of thumbs up when I mention it, but is going from Odin and Thor and Loki, and the steps that happen to basically make, like, Ragnarok a reality. And then when Ragnarok is finished up and the gods are defeated and passed on, and whatever, there is, like, a related a tale that speaks of that when Loki basically survives, he survives with, like, another, like, lesser known or spoke about, like, god and stuff, and they get their knowledge from the tree of knowledge, and Loki just wants to be worshipped, but the people, the human race, are still in existence because Ragnarok doesn't happen on like the mortal, plane. And so he creates um, a position for himself, and he changes the tree of knowledge to like the tree of life, and to keep those around him from being fully suspicious or whatever. Like there's tales where it turns himself into a snake, and then then you have like Adam and Eve and stuff. And so like at the end of this like big old rabbit hole of a tale, you're like, oh, the birth of Christianity. You're like, oh, okay, like I see where you're going with it, like.
Yeah, and that's because a lot of people have Christianized, have specifically Christianized Ragnarok and a lot of
Yeah.
tales. Example, one of our major sources, the Prose Edda, was written by Snorri Sturluson, which was a specific political agenda to try and unite Iceland with Norway. So we
Mm-hmm.
know why it was written, and we know why he even went down this rabbit hole. But he specifically goes in to try and declaw the Norse gods, basically saying that they were Trojan heroes instead of
Mm-hmm.
actual um, gods.
Yeah.
But the problem is specifically with Norse mythology and Irish mythology, is we have to be really careful where we get our sources. Snorri Sturluson specifically says that there's other gods that are more heavenly than the Asgard, and only the
Mm-hmm.
one true god is there. And it's like, hey, hold on a second. This is Christian editions. What's going on
Yeah,
here?
dude.
This isn't right.
Yeah.
But then there's also the idea that the entire concept of Ragnarok might be a Christian edition. And while it's likely not, we
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
the story of Ragnarok is that, Balder dies, gets
Yep.
mistletoed, Loki. But then
Yeah.
Odin whispers something into his ear.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Odin whisper something into his ear? But Odin knows the prophecies of Ragnarok, knows how he'll die, and also knows that once the world is burnt to ash by Surtur, that Balder comes back brand new and stronger than ever. There's a
Yeah.
clear line of resurrection, and Odin has an entire history of having human sacrifices to him, and also of him sacrificing himself to himself for knowledge.
Yeah.
So there's these huge additions that we don't know might be Christian origins, but also might not, because some things are kind of weird. And the only outside records before Christianity is from Tacitus, from when the Romans came in contact with the Nordic peoples.
Yeah. This
God,
this
man, I want languages.
dude, I want I want to have just more of this conversation with you all the time. I This is easily one of my favorite things to talk about, is just
So
mythology and stories, and like the history of, I'll say it this way, the history of stories.
the history of
That's
stories.
I love it.
My favorite thing is discussing myths and stories about the Pleiades star cluster.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
do you know the classic like tale of like the seven sisters and like the stars, and one sister normally leaves or whatever?
I think so.
It's a classic tale. It involves the Pleiades star cluster, which is called the Seven Sisters. However, the myths usually around it talk about one of the sisters leaving willingly or unwillingly, or dying, or something of the end. And it is a classic myth structure that is found around the world. And the crazy part about it is that from the naked eye, if we look up into the sky on a clear night, and there's not a lot of light pollution, you can
Mm-hmm.
only see 6 stars in the Pleiades star cluster, because 2 stars have drifted too close together. The last time that would have been visible from Earth was over 100,000 years ago. So the story of the Seven Sisters possibly has its origins in over 100,000 years old of continuous oral storytelling.
Wow.
And that gives me goosebumps every time I think about it, because that's
That
just
that that truly is wow.
There's a
I'm gonna look this one up because I want to hear more.
there's a fascinating paper that I read. It's like 23 pages. You can find it for free because you can find all academic papers for free.
Mm-hmm.
Just real quick tip for anyone who wants to do more research, but wants to go actual academic paper research. Anytime you find a paper that is blocked by a paywall on a publication, the publishers make all the money. They do not give any money to the researchers.
Hmm.
So if you just email one of the researchers, they will send you their paper for free because they've already gotten paid for their research. Example,
Right.
I have a paper about 5,000-year-old burial practices in Ireland because I found it fascinating. I sent out a couple emails and they said, no, we don't get any money from that. Here's the paper. And sent me a 34-page research paper. That's an academic paper in one of, I think it's Cambridge's, a Cambridge paper press, something like that. But there is a fascinating paper. I forget exactly who it's written by, but you can find it by using the way of stories evolve like a species. There's a paper done where it specifically researches the girl and the wolf archetype in a story and uses Red Riding Hood as the basis and traces back a lineage of stories showing how it evolves over time due to conditions and why stories evolve like species, like a biological evolution. And it's so cool.
That is actually fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say here, because I think what I'm gonna end up doing is calling this like episode like Choo Choo, Here Comes the Derail. But
yeah, kinda.
yeah, but even just to kind of like bring this all back together, like for those listening who are thinking, well, this has nothing to do with gaming and everything, I'm gonna blow your mind here. Your favorite games come from some form of story that has been told in one way, shape, or form somewhere else in time. The whole thing that just spun this entire conversation off, God of War. We wouldn't have God of War if it wasn't for like Greek mythology and Norse mythology and mythologies to begin with. Like
And
even yeah.
on that notion, when you said about how Kratos killed his family, making a deal with a god based on like wrath, that's just Heracles. Heracles killed his spouse Megara and his 2 children, and that's what caused him to go do the 12 labors.
Dude, I'm seriously. I have to do like a spin-off episode of just mythology. I want to talk hours with you about this.
I could talk for hours about this stuff. This is
Oh
a
my
passion.
God. This is
real quick. Another plug,
please,
for me, if you don't mind.
Please.
A subcomic I have is Esoterica, and Esoterica is specifically the first volume is called Rites of Agios, and it is 3 short comics for Greek gods, and it's my interpretations of ancient rituals through Mycenaean sources. So back to what the point that Josh was making is that all this mythology, all these stories are just not reruns, but reinterpretations of stories that we already have.
As a beautiful way of putting that. Yeah, I 1000% agree.
God of War 2 is just Ragnarok.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think they even they call it Ragnarok. It's or wait,
yeah.
No, yeah. I was like, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the game.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Well, dude, so we definitely have to do another episode, a part 2. We are coming here to the end here. There's no part of me that could ever even say that this is like a solidified final episode. I absolutely have to have you come back. There's so many more topics that I want to talk about that there's no way to even fit it in this episode here. So I want to say thank you so much for coming to talk to me today.
Hell yeah, thanks for having me on.
Dude, this was an absolute treat. You hit so many points that I love talking about so much. This truly was a fantastic thing. Please, before we wrap up completely on this episode, where can we find you? Where can we find your work? Where can we find these things? And then just plug away. And then when we're done here, I'm going to get all the information so I can put it all in the description.
Thank you so much. So first things first, my comics is my major one. You can find me at www.luminarycomics.com. Spelled how it sounds, one word. You can find my general artwork on my Instagram, which is at LKEL_QUE, so it's Spanish. And then also I have a YouTube channel. Just type in my name, Lucas Keener, or Luge Aldvald, which is my gamer name, which is also my Twitch. It is LUJE_ALDWALD. And I on my Twitch I stream art and the video games I like, which we already talked about. So
Yeah,
you can kind of see how those go. Currently I'm working on a couple YouTube series. I'm currently editing what's called Chet Silverblood, which was me role playing as the son of a CEO of a hedge fund in Skyrim on legendary difficulty with only restoration magic, illusion magic, and a sword, and trying to get a 1,000 bounty in every single hold with a level 1 character. It was chaotic. I died 57 times, and there will be a video coming soon.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, that's fantastic. Is there anything else you want to throw out there?
Yeah, this was cool as hell. I would love to be back on.
Yeah, we definitely need to set up another one.
Your like title graphic with like the game and everything so cool. I love it so much.
Yeah, thanks. I had some help with it. I can't take full credit, but yeah,
it
was
dope. I like it. And also I've listened to a couple other podcasts to get ready for this, and I generally like the flow of the show. It's really nice. It's really organic.
Hey,
and
thank you very much.
I'm excited to be back on. This was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. You can find me on Instagram at Phoenix Stewart. You can find me on YouTube, which if you're watching this, you already found it. All links will be in the description here. If you are a nerdy individual, love gaming and maybe some TTRPGs, and maybe you got a little bit of a spicy side, please go check out this wonderful TikToker before they ban that bad boy at Danny Reads Dirty Books. Straightforward, just basically how it's there, and I'll throw that down in the description. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. And I want to say, thank you to Lucas. This was an absolute treat. And please, we definitely have to schedule something again and do this
definitely.
Again.
We could finally finish talking about the games.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, yeah, and then the next one we'll talk about actual video games. So
maybe let's not get ambitious.
We'll end up doing a part 3 anyway. So until next time, thank you, and we will see you on the next one.
Hell yeah, take care.